Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Tina Olivero, founder of Guardians of Recovery. And today I have a special guest, Earl Thiessen, who's the executive director of Oxford House Canada. I've been following Earl around for the last year and a half, like begging, asking for mentorship, asking for help, asking for solutions to addiction and recovery. Because as far as I'm concerned, he's the man with the most experience in Canada that has made the greatest difference with sober living homes. So today we're going to talk about what is a sober living home? Why are sober living homes working? Oxford House, which is the foundation that is developing all of these sober living homes in Alberta. There's 27, I believe, right now. And with Earl's leadership and vision and lived experience, most importantly, they are making a huge difference and the system is working. So we don't want to hear any more about what's not working. We want to talk about what's working, why overdoses are going down in that region. And this is the man who's got the answers for us. So Earl, thank you so much for joining us. And for those who might be hearing the name Oxford House for the very first time, can we start there by explaining what Oxford House is?
100%. You're far too kind. Thank you for for the introduction, Tina. Um, the basis of Oxford House is really simple, right? I was a resident 18 years ago, so I have the first-hand experience, right? The definition of Oxford House is peer supported recovery living, right?
Mhm.
You live in a group with people. The whole premise is everyone says the opposite of addiction is connection.
Mhm.
Connection is community, right?
Right.
You have your own little community in a home. That's why there's five residents in every house. One, I fear would definitely not work because of isolation. Two
Right.
wouldn't work because there's only two people in the house. Three, the odds are better. Four, five for us is the ultimate number, right? And this is just the model in Canada, right?
Mhm.
Because in the States, where it originated back in the 70s, they have up to 16 people living in a house, right? Two people in a room. That's just not how it is here in Canada due to, the density of population. I can see that in the States, but not here. But the
Right.
whole purpose of Oxford House is to live with like-minded individuals, grow
Mhm.
with like-minded individuals, and find your voice. Accountability is huge, responsibility is huge, and moving forward, right? With support, obviously, from our staff, right? But
Mhm.
the staff don't visit the houses every day. They don't have to because it's
Right.
year round. We
Right.
oversee the operation of the homes and make sure that the guidelines are being followed. The houses operate under the Oxford House model. They have the whole manual, they have everything in there, and they learn to work with each other. They learn conflict resolution. If they need help with employment, education, or anything, my staff are there to assist them. We open up the door. They have to walk through. And
Right.
that pride in ownership is why it's such a success.
Mhm.
People are
Now,
doing work.
right, exactly. Yeah, and that's a stark difference from where I am here in Newfoundland, because what we have right now is you got to wait to get to detox. You have to wait, months to get to rehab. We have no sober living homes of this magnitude at all. What we have is a model of harm reduction, which is, here's your crack pipe, but you can't get into rehab for another 6, 8 weeks. And so, and when it comes to personal accountability and responsibility, that's not even in the equation. That doesn't even show up on the radar, let alone be, the foundation for people to live by. So I definitely see how that can be self-generating and sustainable long term for sure. Because any system that is built on, when there's no responsibility, no accountability, and it's all personal freedoms are met. Here's your house, here's your crack pipe, here's, your trap house, here's your money for living. All of those extended personal freedoms, which we have here in Newfoundland, without any responsibilities or accountability, we know how it ends. It's chaos. it's death, it's overdoses, it's crime, rampant crime. It's like war zone over here. So we're now sitting in the aftermath of not having this system in place, which is why I'm so interested in speaking to you about it. So who's the type of person who typically comes to live in an Oxford house?
You name it. It's there's been executives, there's been municipal residents, right, from the government that work with the government, the city of Calgary. There's
Mhm.
addiction doesn't discriminate.
Right.
So all walks of life have been through, like pretty high name executives have been through Oxford House, right?
Mhm.
Right down to the homeless, right? Like I was. I was
Right.
I was homeless for 7 years when I came into an Oxford House and started my healing journey, right? If
That's
if you're gonna work the program and you're gonna be accountable and you want that responsibility, this is where you need to be, right? And
right.
there's no time limit. I say the average stay in an Oxford House should be 2 years. You're
Right.
spending decades, years affecting your life. Don't
Yeah.
don't do a quick fix because it's not going to work, right?
No.
Take your
And that's all.
time.
Yeah, that's also what we're seeing here. People go to detox, then they relapse while they're waiting to get into rehab. Then they get out of rehab, then they're relapsing over and over again. And sometimes they go to rehab 3, 4 times without sober homes. So, as you know, I've been an advocate for sober homes. I've been lobbying the government. I submitted formal proposal for sober homes. In fact, many people were invited to submit bids last January the 15th, which we all did. I had a proposal which was over 100 pages long, thanks to you, because I got your guidance and mentorship and all of your manuals on exactly how to do that. And I read them with, such interest because I could see this is not just the answer to recovery, but the answer is to life. Like, this is what everybody needs to do to live a successful life, period. Um, so when it comes to being self-run and self-supported in this way, people taking responsibility and accountability, can you break that down for us so someone's knocking on the door saying, I'm ready for Oxford House, long-term sober living. What's the process and journey that they travel through? What's the intake process like? And how do you know that you actually have a fit for the other people in the home? Like, that there's going to be harmony within all these different walks of life.
Well, see, that's the beauty of Oxford House is my staff outside of pre-treatment, which when you were speaking about going to detox and then waiting, that's why I created the concept of pre-treatment housing because that was my experience to a T. I went into medical detox. I was ready. I was done. I had been in active addiction for almost a quarter century. My partner was murdered. I'd lost as much as I was willing to lose to my addiction. And
Mhm.
I went in, I was defeated and I was ready. And when I went in November 13th, 2007, they gave me a date for January. And I just panicked, right? I started panicking. And by the grace of God, a lovely lady named Gwen went to work for me and opened up the doors, and I ended up going into Sunrise Healing Lodge. But that's where the whole concept of pre-treatment housing came from. And these need to be not just across Alberta or Canada, they need to be across the world because this is the biggest gap when somebody is ready to start their recovery journey. In
Mhm.
Alberta, people seeking recovery has quadrupled in the past year. There's
Right.
such an influx of people that are ready, that are seeking recovery, that we need to fill these gaps. And the government
Mhm.
here is doing an amazing job.
There.
Definitely the whole country, if not the world, is watching what we're doing here with recovery. It's a recovery oriented system of care. There are
Mhm.
steps in this process that need to take place, right? And at Oxford House, it's really quite simple. You can go online, you can apply for pre-treatment in Edmonton or Calgary, or no, pre-treatment in Calgary, transitional housing in Edmonton or Calgary, and we also have Indigenous housing. So our people, I am First Nation, so our people can heal together in a supported environment that's culturally supported as well.
Mhm.
But the process is, outside of pre-treatment housing, we don't place residents. They do an application, most of the time from a treatment center,
Mhm.
and then my staff conduct an interview with them just to ask the basic questions, right? Treatment center, you're going through. One of the big questions I always ask is, who are you doing this for?
Mhm.
We have to do it for ourselves, or else the odds are stacked against us. But that's one of the questions I ask. First off, when I was doing support, right, I pretty much covered every role from being a resident to executive director,
Right.
up until 10 years ago when I became executive director, but or 6 years ago. But when we do that interview process, that's the toughest part of the job, is trying to match the personalities where you think this person is gonna fit, right? Luckily,
Mhm.
we have 18 homes in Calgary, so we can be a little bit selective about which house they go to. But that being
Yeah.
said, we decide which house they go for their house interview, because after that, there's a house interview where the people
Okay.
who live in the home interview that person, and they decide if that person is a fit. And
Right.
sometimes they're not.
So, looks okay. Okay. So someone's applied. You guys have said, yep, looks good. But then they get to the people who are living in the home, and that person who's living in the home says, can I live with that person? Is it going to be okay for that person? Do I have empathy, compassion, and a real, way to embrace this person? And do I trust that they actually authentically want to get well and are not going to disrupt the whole living environment that we've created that we're succeeding in? So there's always this. But I like the number five because, there is power in numbers. So if you have power in recovery, that number four or five people dominate the house in recovery as opposed to a trap house where everybody's doing drugs and that dominates that household. So there is something to be said about the energy of a house and the commitment and the intention and having people who are all aligned that way. And even if someone is like on the edge of relapsing, just that environment and culture can pull them back into play.
100%, 100%. And that's where the accountability and where the ability to find your voice comes into play, right? As where a lot of people in active addiction are yes men, right?
Mhm.
It's always yes. And with the accountability, the voting process, democratically ran, the
Mhm.
House can say, hey, Earl, we noticed you're missing work. We noticed you're not going to your recovery-based meetings. It's
Mhm.
becoming a concern. We noticed the state of your room because you're a reflection of your environment, right?
Right.
The house can open up your door, knock on it. Every house, because we have a house meeting once a week where the
Okay.
whole house gets together and they discuss what's going on in the house. And this is
Right.
where the accountability is. Somebody can say, hey, Earl, you know what? You're not doing your chore properly. It's reflecting on the rest of the house. We're all getting home from work. All the dishes are in the sink. You need to step it up. That's the first step. If you don't step it up, they can give you a
Mhm.
disruptive behavior, which is
Right.
a written document from the house that says these are the deficiencies in how your participation is affecting the rest of the house. You have 30
Mhm.
days to fix these, or we can ask you to leave.
Got it. Yeah, so it's very clear rules and processes to make sure that everybody succeeds. What if someone does relapse?
If someone does relapse, because I was homeless, we don't evict into homelessness. And I say that cautiously
Mhm.
because the resident, because we always were very well connected with detoxes here. Even if they have to spend a night in intox, the next day they go up. So
Mhm.
that being said, it's their choice. We don't force them to go to detox because a lot of people say, you know what, I'm good. Thank you for my time here. I'm grabbing a backpack, I'm packing some clothes, and I'm leaving.
Yeah.
We can't force them to go to detox or anything. And lots of times that's actually what happens, because when you're intoxicated or high, your thought process isn't on point.
Mhm. Yeah. And there's a big misconception about that. Like people say, oh, you're forcing someone into rehab or you're forcing someone into care. That's so far removed from what's happening. There's a lineup of people trying to get sober, as long as you can see, and they're begging for help. So there's no forced anything. And there's always someone waiting for that space to be able to get well themselves. So it's not like you have to, um, I guess, sit around and try to accommodate behavior in that way. You're actually dealing with it front on, and yep, here's your option. We're never going to leave you out in the cold. We're going to give you an option to go back into rehab and get through this relapse and come back to your room, right?
Some people, some homes, and it happened in my home, when somebody relapsed, they were honest. They said, yes, I need to go to detox. Please help me get there. They go
Yeah.
into detox, and then after that person leaves, the house has a meeting and decides, because there's lots of excellent residents that are in there. There's lots of really good people out there, and they have a slip. So they have
Yeah.
that slip. The house talks to them and says, you know what? You can come back to the house. Go to
hmm
detox for 5 to 7 days. You come back, but you're back on probation for 30 days. Your
hmm
chores need to be done. You are going to fulfill your role in the home, because there's a president, treasurer, secretary, chore coordinator, and safety supervisor in an Oxford house. Everybody has a responsibility. Everybody is accountable for their position and their responsibility. And then they can also say that you're going to be coming to the meetings that we're going to, so we know you're going to your meetings.
Yeah.
They can set the groundwork for this person to come back. Nine
hmm
times out of 10, more than 9.9 times out of 10, the person says that's perfectly fine, because they know what they had.
Right.
Don't want to lose it. So we're open to taking them back just after detox, right?
Fantastic. And that's the way it should be. I mean, that's wonderful. But here in Newfoundland, that would not be able to work right now because people have to wait just to get into detox. Might be like, 2, 3 days. Someone who relapsed and has nowhere to go and can't get into detox for 2, 3 days, they're going on a bender, most likely for the next 2, 3 days. At 3, 4 days on a bender, you might not resurface for another 4 or 5 years.
We do allow people to go because there's some very supportive families out there. We do
Mhm.
allow the person, if they say, you know what, I don't want to go to detox, but my mom said or my brother said they don't use, they said I can come there for 5 to 7 days. And we say that's perfectly fine. You're being tested when you come back. And then they come
Okay.
back, right? So that there's so many
There's
nuances
other
involved.
options. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And the
Yeah.
biggest thing is though, Tina, you said it, detox. And it needs to be medical, because the drugs out there, as we all know, are so powerful.
hmm
You don't
Yeah.
just you don't just stop and go cold turkey. That could kill people.
Yeah,
Medical
exactly.
detox is huge. There should be at least 10 medical detoxes minimum in every
hmm
province, if not more, right?
Yeah,
With the capacity of 50 people.
I
Um,
agree.
there even still here in Alberta, there's such a large amount of people seeking recovery. It's so
hmm
hard to keep up, right?
Yeah.
And we probably have the largest numbers for a province that has the population of 3.5 million.
hmm
The amount of people that are seeking recovery is astronomical, and and the government especially, there is no fee for treatment in Alberta.
Yeah.
It's covered. Pre-treatment housing, the government supports. There is no cost for people to come into pre-treatment housing.
Wow. I
Right?
wish we had that. That would be a dream come true. And like also having a detox in every major, city, town here
A
would,
couple, at
yeah.
least, right?
We have one with 9 beds. That's it.
No, that's there should be a zero on that in the province, right? At least.
I know, it's criminal. And we have the highest rate of mental health and addictions in Canada. And this is one of the reasons why. So,
The supports need to, and it's got to start, with the community. I can see from speaking with you and numerous other people out east, The community support is there. The government needs to step up and support what the community wants, right? Could you imagine having, say, four medical detoxes with 25 beds where you are right now, just in your city? They
That
would be
alone,
full. And then pre-treatment housing. And then recovery communities like they have in Alberta,
yeah,
75 bed, right, with up to a year stay. And then transitional housing with no end date. Indigenous recovery housing, right?
that's what I dream about every day. That's music to my
That's
ears.
the way it is in Alberta, right?
That would have saved my son's life, you know? Like just recently we had two 14-year-olds and a 17-year-old die. The kids are so young and, taking pills that have like protonidazine and stuff in them. They think they're taking Xanax or Dilaudid and, they're dying just like that instantly. So not only do we have like addiction people in deeply immersed in addiction, but we also have kids that are they're instant death happening
First
and
time use and they're passing away.
first time use. And we have to get our, excuse the expression, we have to get our shit together because when it gets to the point where your kids are dying right in front of you,
Yeah.
there is something seriously, seriously wrong with society. And to look away from it and think, oh, it's happening everywhere else in Canada, or to justify it in any way is unconscionable to
Mhm.
me. It's
Yeah.
just like I can't walk past a person who's asleep on the ground or on a picnic table without checking. Did they overdose? Are they okay? Do I need to call 911? What can we do to help? Like these are people just flaked out completely on the
Yep.
streets. Um,
I carry a naloxone kit in my car. My wife has one in her car. I have one
yeah,
in my work bag, right? Because you never know when you're going to run by that person.
mhm,
And it could say, my daughter just did that. And
yeah,
she ended up saving this guy's life, right? She didn't administer it, but she walked by him, like you said, laying in the grass, called
mhm,
911. They came. He was in this overdose state, and they brought him back.
yeah. I
My
mean,
daughter's 15, and she did. This was actually when she was 14. She just turned 15. And
wow.
that's what she did. If society looked at people more like that,
Hmm.
there would be a lot more love, kindness, and hope would be an everyday word, and people would get to help to heal.
Yeah. Because people think, addiction is a choice. They don't recognize, anywhere from 40 to 70% of genetic predisposition is genetic. And, they're not looking at it medically in that way. And here we have people who are super, super sensitive to substance, especially our indigenous with alcohol, for example, proven you're 10 times more likely to be reactive to alcohol in that way. And we're not accounting for that in how we see it. Like stigma is made up of, you know, not being educated on the brain illness of addiction and its genetic predisposition. And we really need to get those messages out there. And I think that sober homes are the opportunity to do that because the people with lived experience like you, and those who go through it, you're going to educate us all on this stuff. You're going to tell us how to fix this. You're going to teach us what we need to know to actually get out of this crisis because over 50,000 people have died in Canada. Like the fact that that's not on the news every single day, bigger
Mhm.
than COVID. Here's how many people overdosed today. Here's what happened. Here's Calgary reducing overdoses by how many, what time, why, how'd they get there? Until we give it that level of attention, we're not going to solve it. But
Well,
anyway.
that's I always I've said to a couple of media outlets, why all the stories on the negative? Why not some stories on the positive? Like
Mhm.
when people, a lot of people watch the news, whether you're in detox, I mean, you could be incarcerated, you're watching the news. And when you see people with success stories and what they've done, how they've done it, the support they've had, because it's a lot of hard work. And
Yeah,
when you hear stories like that, it makes you think, why am I sitting here? Why can't I do what this guy or this lady is doing? Right?
exactly.
The only, I always tell people there's only one person that is going to trip you up, and that's yourself.
Mhm. And
Right?
there's so many people that have recovered. Those stories need to be told.
Oh, it's
And
amazing. I've been like there's obviously been negative ones, but when you talk about the positives,
Mhm.
it just keeps me going. It just fuels me. There was a gentleman that was leaving Oxford House, and he called, and he said, "Earl, I didn't want to leave without speaking with you personally and thanking you for this opportunity." Right?
Mhm.
To me, that's just everything. To me, that
Yeah.
means the world to me.
Absolutely. And so many people have, go through the process and recover and become these great contributions to humanity because they actually overcame one of the hardest things that a person could ever go through and
Mhm.
then come through it and become a better person having gone through it. Like the journey of transformation is truly inspiring. And I just think, yeah, let's tell as many of those stories
There
as
are
we
so many positive outcomes. Even when you look at the government of Alberta and the gentleman that basically spearheaded recovery, Marshall Smith, you
can.
look at his story, he was the first person I met in government, and his story and mine have similarities, right? From the addiction leading us to the street and everything. This is a gentleman whose whole heart was poured into this, and he was the catalyst for this whole recovery-oriented system of care in Alberta.
Yeah.
He's no longer part of the government or anything, but he set the foundation for recovery for this province. Him and his staff, right? There's staff that he has that were amazing. Eric, their heart's into it, right? It's not work,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
how I feel. This isn't work for me. Creating housing models, filling gaps. 231 people went through pre-treatment last year to treatment off of
wow,
17 beds. That's the stats from a treatment center that has 75 beds. So imagine the impact of that if there were 10 pre-treatment homes,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It would be amazing. So many people get lost in that gap, even the gap after treatment. When you
mm,
finish treatment and then you're going back to the same environment that you were using in or where some of your trauma was, that's not
mhm,
conducive to a person's recovery. Take
no,
take 6 months to 2 years, go live in a supportive, peer supportive living environment, and
mm,
watch how that changes your life. Your whole view and outtake on everything you do, how you view people changes
mhm,
because
yeah,
now you're accountable. Now you're speaking about your trauma. Now you understand why that person is passed out there because he's got unresolved trauma that he hasn't been able to speak about or had the opportunity, the confidence. Shame is a powerful motivator for
mm,
addiction, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
we need to give people the opportunity to use their voices and heal.
Mhm. When people are supported in that way, and then also empowered to be self-supportive in that way, and they're growing, going through the process in living in a sober living home. Do you guys help them like with jobs? Are they getting out and working every day? Do they need skills development? How do you evaluate what a person needs? What needs to be what's where you can help and where they need to come to the table.
Well, and we do that. We help them with, say, if they need resume writing, job interview skills. We collaborate with an organization here called Prospect,
Hmm.
and they can go there. There's momentum for financial and employment. There's so many resources here that because we open the doors. And I
Right,
stress this because a lot of people expect us to do the work for them. That's not how it works. We're going
right.
to open the doors. We're going to provide you the resources. We have a team of recovery coaches that knows all the resources here. If you say I need mental health help, check here. I need resume writing help. Here you go. This is where you can go. Do you need bus tickets? We'll give you some bus tickets,
Hmm.
and they go through. We open the doors, and I say this a lot to people. I'm in the business of helping people help themselves.
Yeah,
We open
absolutely.
up the doors, you have to walk through them because you're building your own self-efficacy, your self-worth, your pride, your confidence, right? All of that is crucial for a person on their recovery journey, right? You need to, and sometimes people have this and addiction takes that away and they can reconnect right away. Sometimes
Mhm.
people have never had this. And then they're going home and they're so anxious and all the anxiety and the stress from what they just went through. They put themselves out there. They can go back home and they can talk about it to one of their roommates. And the roommate says, you know what, that's how it was for me too. Just keep plugging away. If you need to talk, I'm here. That's the way it was for me. That's the way it still works. That's why there's so much success.
Mhm. Now let's dive into finances for a second. In terms of financing the sober living homes and then someone financing themselves, let's talk about the homes first. How do you ensure, financial success for Oxford? Um, is it all supported by government, or how does that all come together to make sure that everything runs financially smoothly? There's integrity in the model, it's long-term, sustainable. How does that work?
It, well, not unfortunately, fortunately, uh, government funding does come into play. The only portion of government funding that fully supports Oxford House is pre-treatment.
Okay.
We do have some recovery coach funding that helps with the staffing at Oxford House.
Mhm.
Members in transitional housing and our Indigenous program do pay rent.
Okay.
It's fairly modest. We actually just raised it for the first time, well, second time in a decade. We didn't raise it at all through COVID. Probably in the past 2 years, we did a small increase about 2.5 years ago, and then another small increase just to, everything is getting so expensive, right? It's hard as a
Mhm.
nonprofit, but we do receive different grants from the government. We just became property tax exempt, which saves a lot of money on the amount of homes we have in the city of Calgary. That's
Mhm.
the only city that has given us property tax exemption, and we're a nonprofit. And we're
Right.
fighting with Edmonton for property tax exemption on our 8 homes. That
Mhm.
property tax exemption out there would pay half of a salary for a support worker and give
Wow.
them support work. But in Calgary, we are property tax exempt, so that's not a bill.
Mm.
But the houses, the residents pay a modest rent. Together with that, we used to be about 73% self-supporting through
Mhm.
members' rents, right? Ron McMillan, God bless him. He was the guy who saw the founder of Oxford House here in Alberta. He was the guy who saw something in me I didn't see in myself. But through his hard work and his dedication throughout his career here, he passed away from cancer about 8 years ago. But he his goal was to be mortgage free. So he
Right.
went out, did the work. I think it was Jim Prentice gave the organization $250,000 to start our Indigenous program, which has been reinvented, recreated, and now is running again with 5 homes in the province. But he went through members' rent and paid the mortgages off of our homes. When I took over as ED, there was only 2 homes that had a mortgage, and now we're mortgage free, right? So
That's
now all of
that's
that,
incredible.
because our houses are older,
Yeah.
we did a capital asset management plan,
Mhm.
courtesy and supported by the Calgary Homeless Foundation here. But we did a full evaluation on all of our homes, uh,
Mm.
and we've been pouring money into renos, new kitchens, new appliances, new furniture, new flooring, new roofs, right? Always start with the roof, right? But that's what we've been doing. We're a nonprofit organization. Any money coming in goes right back out into the homes because
Yeah.
our name is Oxford House Foundation, but what we
Mhm.
do is we provide homes for people to heal in.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then in turn, with that financial integrity in the equation of cooperation, then residents also have to gain their own financial stability as well. How do
Yep.
you empower that? How do you encourage that? How does that happen?
For the most part, a lot of them learn on their own. If there's Alberta Works where they can get help with budgeting, there's Momentum where they can get help with finances, right? And they ask us a lot of questions, right? When I moved into an Oxford house, I was on Alberta Works. I was actually on Alberta Works for probably close to a year because that's how long I was in treatment for.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
I moved into an Oxford home, and that's how many residents started Oxford houses on Alberta Works. They
That's
cover
like
the
that's
first
the same
few
thing as
months of rent and food. Nobody will ever go hungry in an Oxford house. We're well connected with organizations that that provide food security. So
Mhm.
that never happens, and they just grow slowly, sometimes quickly, as we say. A lot of people coming into Oxford House have lived a life until addiction, the throes of addiction took over. So
Right.
they know the basic tools to get started. And if they don't, then we help them through resources, right? A lot of people go back to university in Oxford House. We partner with a lot of colleges, right? I'm all about education. Uh, and the rule is at Oxford House, in order to be in an Oxford House, your focus needs to be education, employment, or we do have some people on a full-time volunteering.
Gotcha. Yeah, because without, being contributing, learning, growing or something, you're stagnant, and then that's a
Yep,
recipe for disaster for sure.
100%.
Mhm. And you guys have this amazing recovery coaching program. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because a lot of people here are very interested in that program.
The recovery coach program is basically compiling and having communication skills. One is huge. Understanding addiction is huge, but
Mhm.
also being able to provide referrals, proper referrals to people is also huge. We
Right.
do, and to have discussions with the residents, right? We
Mhm.
don't dictate, a recovery coach doesn't dictate how their recovery goes. They answer the questions, provide referrals, some insight, and open up the door for a person to start their journey their way, right? We don't, because at Oxford House, we used to say, you used to have to go to 12-step meetings, 12-step based.
Mhm.
Now, because there's so many different paths of recovery, smart recovery, there's holistic methods, there's
Yeah.
indigenous methods. We just say recovery-based meetings. As long
Right.
as you're working on your recovery and you have to hit a minimum of two,
Mhm.
right? That covers that basis for you. But the
Right.
recovery coaches are there to support and provide resources. Right.
Right.
As soon as you
Right.
step over and you say, well, you should be doing this, you should be, that's not a recovery coach. Now you're stepping over the line. And we
Mhm.
make that perfectly clear. We have a good training program here in Alberta. Bolin Health is the recovery coach trainers that we use here, and it's really an intense program, so people can understand the
Mhm.
mind of an addict, right, and how it works.
Right. You guys really do have the formula figured out. I mean, it's exemplary, and I have to commend all of the people who, you know, built planted the seeds really to bear the fruit of where you are right now. I mean, these were people who saw a vision for the future and executed. So here we are in Newfoundland, Labrador, at currently where we stand. What recommendations do you have for us? Like, what should we be doing next? You've been involved in my fight for sober homes, understanding what I've been doing, but what advice do you have for all of us, the government, our support services, the public who don't really understand that the most critical factor here is we have mass drug insurgents of illicit lethal drugs that are causing so much addiction and desperation, and
Mhm.
that is fueling crime right now. Many communities are not feeling safe because of the amount of crime that's happening with very wonderful people who have addiction but are absolutely desperate for
Mhm.
to be able to get to that next you know substance experience, and it's causing havoc everywhere. What are we going to do?
I think it all, and you're doing it. It starts at home, right? You definitely need to get municipal governments involved, provincial governments involved. It's really it's really not a buy-in. It's an awakening that there's people out there that want healing, that don't want to extend their addiction and their trauma by taking a safe supply,
Right.
right? Newfoundland is a port province, and unfortunately, the ports are where these drugs are coming in,
Right.
And I
Yeah.
said that about BC. You're talking about the border between Canada and the United States. Start with your ports.
Yeah.
You tighten up on your ports, and there's gonna be a massive dent in what's coming into the province, all along the East Coast, all the way down,
Yeah.
right? It's just like
Absolutely.
in the States, same thing. Vancouver, California, everything's coming in from those ports, right? And then it's
Yeah.
coming up from Mexico across the borders,
Mhm.
right? But there needs to be a realization that there are thousands and thousands of people that want recovery. How are
Mhm.
you going to help them find recovery? You're not going to help them find recovery by opening safe overdose sites and starting safe supply and legalizing drugs. I knew when they legalized marijuana that it was just going to steamroll and snowball in a negative way,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
A drug is a drug is a drug, right?
Right.
I started smoking pot. I ended up drinking. I ended up doing pharmaceuticals. I ended up ODing twice, right?
Mhm.
It's a progression, just like
It,
recovery. It's a
right.
progression. You can go down one path and find healing, or you can go down the other path and continue your misery. There's
Mhm.
three definites in recovery that we talk about in the rooms: jails, institutions, and death. That's how addiction ends. And unfortunately for us, we've both experienced that.
Yeah.
There's also three ways to make sure that you're helping people and that people can help themselves. Change the places, change the people, and change the things that you're doing. And
Mhm.
one of the things that you have to change is supporting recovery, right?
Yeah.
Get them in medical detox. There's a medical detox shortage across the country. People
Mhm.
who want to heal have to stand in a line and many times get turned away. Medical
Yeah.
detox is the start because that's where the want is, right?
Mhm.
And some need. I'm not going to lie, I went to detox because I was so drawn out and so beaten down. I needed a chance to recoup in a safe environment. So I did go to detox for that purpose. But
Mhm.
primarily, people are going into medical detox because they want recovery.
Right.
After that medical detox, where are you going? There is a lineup for people waiting for treatment, pre-treatment housing, right?
Mhm.
Keep them safe with supports in there. Collaborate with treatment centers, get them in there quicker. When we started pre-treatment housing, it was up to a 3 month wait, 2 to 3 month wait to get into treatment. Now that we've collaborated with other organizations like Aventa, like Simon House, like 1835, now that we collaborate with them, the average stay in a pre-treatment home is 3 weeks.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then they're in treatment, and then they go through treatment,
Mhm.
and then you have to have supportive housing after. To me, it's
Yeah.
so simple.
Yeah.
It's the support, and it's not expensive.
No,
That's the thing. It's
it's
not
more
expensive.
expensive not to do it. It's like the cost of not doing this and the fallout in our communities with the amount of crime, businesses closing up. Like our downtown is shutting down
Yeah,
because companies don't want to work there anymore because
yeah,
people are exacerbated with drug addiction and overdoses and just being, hounded to death by desperate people who are looking for money.
yeah.
Um, the medical system is falling apart. People, doctors on the front lines, nurses, they're afraid to go to work. Our hospitals are like war zone over there.
Yeah, no, that's there needs to be an overhaul, right? There definitely needs to be an overhaul. I understand people's perspective, and I get it when it comes to their definition of harm reduction.
Hmm.
There has to be a pathway to recovery too. If you're not going to support a pathway to recovery, then you're supporting chaos,
Right.
right?
Exactly. And right now, 95% of all of our budget in health and housing is all low barrier shelters or housing where everybody continues to use drugs, or it's the whole safe supply model. So
Keeping
you
people, they're supporting keeping people in their trauma and in their addiction. That's not the way a government that cares should operate.
exactly. That's exactly my point. Thank you for saying that. And that's what I feel. I feel that if you really care, you don't stand for this model. if you really care, you care enough to do the things that need to be put in place, do the hard things so life becomes easy, not take the easy
Mhm.
road and the Band-Aid solution and make life hard for everybody, including community members.
Yeah, 100%. The people that are affected, I can guarantee you almost every family, almost, I won't say 100%, but I'll say almost every family somewhere around the line has somebody battling with addiction.
Yeah.
The first thing is to recognize that.
Hmm.
The second thing is to recognize that there is a way out. People don't have to be kept in a perpetual state of addiction and trauma and shame. You don't have to. There is a way out. And
Hmm.
governments of all levels need to support that, or else this isn't going to end well for the nation.
Yeah. Well, like we're so busy trying to look good and cover it up and not tell anyone that some member of our family has this or we have
Mhm.
it. And in this whole cover up and addiction thrives in the dark. That's where we are right now. Ever since Ben died, I have been shining the light on it, talking about it, and everybody's like, "Oh, someone's finally telling the truth." Well, one person can't tell the truth. Everybody's got to come to the table, especially people in government, and
Mhm.
say, this is who's, dealing with this in my family. I'm not ashamed of it. And this is what we need to do to fix it.
Yep. How can
And
we help? Right?
yeah,
How can we help? How can I help my uncle, my brother, my cousin, my friend? How can
yeah,
I help? I get so many phone calls that it drives my wife nuts, right? I'm always working. I probably outside of Oxford House, I work with between 3 and 6 families outside of Oxford House because they're
mhm,
calling me, they want help. There's been lots of success, right?
yeah,
It's just what my heart does. If there was, and yours too, it's if there were more people that saw that there was a light at the end of the tunnel,
mhm,
we wouldn't be in this situation right now.
yeah, exactly,
Because it
exactly.
is possible. Recovery is possible. And the
Mhm,
stigma of recovery, a lot of people say the stigma of addiction. The stigma of recovery needs to be lifted, right?
mm, yeah,
It becomes a choice for a lot of people. And when you're ready to make that choice, like I was, you need to
mhm.
have access right away.
Yeah, exactly. The stigma of recovery is well put for sure. Well, I mean, the next thing that's up for us is we're having a province-wide rally. So we're having it at Confederation Building here in St. John's, but we have Guardians of Recovery is now 6,300 people province-wide, and we have volunteers that work weekly on this, and they're going to be congregating in their own towns and cities.
Excellent.
Yeah, at municipal buildings. And this, I'm going to send this uh, video to every single municipality in Newfoundland, Labrador, because everybody needs this level of education. They need to understand that what's going on, the crime in your community, is directly correlated to whether we fix this or not. This is the answer to fixing it. It's going to be way less expensive in the long run at every single facet of society, from healthcare to social systems to, business development. We can forget about our tourism if we keep it on this road. Like, who goes to East Hastings? Tourism, there's no tourism going on there. It's one
Yeah.
of the mainstays of
We'll
our
put that
economy.
in our itinerary, right? To visit. Nobody does that, right? And
But yet,
Newfoundland's so beautiful.
and yet, left to its own devices, that's where we're headed, because the harm reduction group of people actually want to legalize drugs. No way. No way.
If
That,
there was an opportunity for me to come out there and help people set up recovery housing, I'm in. I could send it on a flash drive and everything, but I
mhm,
think to be hands-on and teach whoever's going to manage those,
yeah.
it would be flawless. And Newfoundland, Labrador would take on a whole new meaning when it comes to recovery.
Well, that's absolutely what we
The
have to
province
do.
should have 50. There should be 50 recovery homes,
There
pre,
should.
post, and Indigenous. Indigenous people, like we were speaking about up in Labrador, they need support. They need to break the cycle of
Mhm.
addiction. They need to not grow up like I did with alcohol around them, right? Alcohol is my poison. I don't
Yeah.
know how many times I had alcohol poisoning that I barely made it out, right?
Mhm.
It's still one of the number one killers for our people is
It is.
alcoholism,
It
right?
is absolutely. It is absolutely. And you had your own, life journey being homeless, and you have so much experience and so much insight and so much wisdom into all of this. Like I'm truly grateful that people like you who've gone through it are speaking up. You guys hold the vision for the future, you hold the solutions and the answers to the future, and as much lived experience as we can get. All those people who have gone through recovery, I encourage, don't just go through recovery and let it be your story. Share it with everyone in every possible
Mhm.
capacity, in any way that you can, whether it's a podcast, a book, a social media post, whatever. But we need this to catch like a culture of recovery and let it set fire. And then when that happens, it will have its own momentum and it will grow and we will have an inclusive, sober society. And
100%. We
yeah,
say recover out loud here.
recover out loud. Exactly. Fantastic. Well, I think we've covered everything there is to talk about. We absolutely have to get you here to set up our sober homes. We absolutely need to get that many sober homes. And I'm personally tired, sick and tired. It's been 2 years since Ben passed away, fighting with government to actually get this in place. I lost my son. I shouldn't be fighting for anything.
Mhm.
They should be
Yep.
saying, oh my God, this happened. Let's get this fixed right away. But that has not been the mentality of our government. There's something really, really wrong that all these kids are dying, and that's not the number one top priority above all things. Like, I hope this video makes a difference. I really do.
You can also, I would also reach out to those big corporations, the big companies. You speak to them, you share your story, share these videos with them. There's people that are working there, that are running, that are managing these places, that
Mhm.
have somebody they know struggling with addiction.
Yeah.
How cheap or how inexpensive would it be for a corporation to drop $500,000 and open up 2 recovery homes? You could
Hmm.
even put down payments on homes and open up 10 with $500,000. It would
Yes.
be that easy. Then self-supporting through members' rent. If they come in and they don't have employment or education, the
Hmm.
government will fill that void and then
Yeah.
get them that help. And then it just steamrolls. That's exactly how it happened in Alberta. We had rentals first.
Hmm.
Then Ron started putting down payments on homes. Now we're mortgage free.
Yeah, that's exactly precisely what we have to do. Yeah,
Mhm.
this leasing business is not the way to go. It's like
You have to
these are
own
your properties. You gain equity within your organization.
it.
You
Mhm.
lose it to leverage yourself in the future and to be able to maintain your properties appropriately. Yeah, I can
That's
absolutely
it.
see
You're
that's
nailing it.
yeah. Okay, Earl. Well, thank you so
My
much for
pleasure.
taking the time. Once again, I'm going to blast this video everywhere, and I'll be getting in touch with the corporations myself, calling them directly. Also, the municipalities. I'm going to ask everyone in the province to stand with us for our province-wide rally, September 11th at 12 to 2. And we're going to stand united and ask for this. And
100%.
then we're going to get you down here and help us set them up.
I'm in.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.
All
Have a
right,
great
Tina.
day.
See you.
Okay,
Take care.
bye.